Got this little thing. I can upload the video. Give me a second. Besides that, how y'all doing today? Rest in peace, young Val. Definitely tragic.
Oh my God, my hair is coming back. This is amazing.
Can hair loss be reversed? If so, how can you do it? The most common cause of hair loss is genetics due to a hormone called dihydrotestosterone. It causes a shortening lifespan in the hair follicles.
As you can tell, you can see that my hair.
Get back to me. Scratch. I don't know what I just did. I just did something wrong. I guess. Who would have known? I'm gonna try to pull up his. You want to get this right. We'll get this together, y'all. I'm trying to figure it out. But how y'all doing today? Let's see.
You can see behind that officer there over the shoulder, you can see it says Makita's Cookies. And that is where this happened. Around 1 o'clock this afternoon, we understand that young Golf had gone into Makita's Cookies, which he is known to do when he comes to Memphis, visit this store. It's an African American owned store in the African American community. And you know, he has a big following in the African American community. This afternoon, apparently, he went in that store. Something happened and there was a shooting and he was killed. Now, we have not been able to get close, but there were pictures circulating of the storefront shot out, glass broken, and you could actually see somebody's hand lying over on the sidewalk. We don't know. We assume that may have been him. But we are still waiting for police to give us some details about all that has happened and what happened and why it happened and who may be responsible for this. Of course, police have not come out and told us anything. As you can see, officers all standing around here. And if you look back over here, you can see that police are behind the barricades, and you see some of the people there who are still trying to stay here and trying to get information.
Uh, we can see a very well-known car. We've probably seen it in a lot of rap videos. We've probably seen it on Instagram several or so times. We've probably seen it on Facebook. Um, we know who that car belongs to. You've seen that car before. You can see that Memphis police are going in and out of Makita's right now. We see homicide detectives. We see felony response on the scene. We see a lot of top brass from the Memphis Police Department on the scene. Uh, and it continues to grow. I don't know if you can hear it, but something head down, head down. You can see people are just hit with emotion here on the scene. A lot of uh, the victim's family is on the other side of the tape. Joy Lane, Joy Lane. Um, you can see a lot of the family, the sisters, I believe, of the victim right there at the barricade. Uh, a lot of these stores have been told to shut down. A lot of these stores have been told to shut down until further notice because it's just, it's growing.
Have to, like I said, listen to music to really be touched by what happened. He was a success story when he made it out, but it wasn't only making it out, folks. For those who, you know, again, you may be unaware of his history, his background, something Young Dolph would do is he would purchase homes, and he always said he wanted to give his son a home every for his birthday, essentially. So by the time he graduated high school, he wanted his son to have almost 2 dozen homes. So he is essentially pumping money right back into this community by buying those homes and trying to again instill that business mind frame into his children hoping that would become
You want to set the
generational.
right there.
That his children would never, is how he put it, would never have to live the life that he lived. And that's because there's the siblings. He had 2 brothers, 2 sisters, some of which were incarcerated, unfortunately, early pregnancies. You name it, something that we hear much too often, something that, is really a reality for a lot of people. And Young Doc was, and not to try to feed him in this, all glittering rainbows way, but even though he had a difficult life, he always said, I don't have to, that's not me. I don't have to continue living that life. And I want to show my family how we can overcome. I want to show others, especially those who call South Memphis home. We know this was where he was raised. He was raised by those in the community. He always said it once more, the streets were his father. So this was really personal, and this was home, and that's why you oftentimes see Young Doc in particular coming back to this area, Historia Heights in particular, because that is where he was raised by his grandmother, along with, like I said, his siblings.
The more we do it on purpose, the more network quality matters. Only Verizon is the most awarded for network quality. That means the best experience with calls, texts, and data usage and immediate clearing for new customers.
The drone video discovered only after the trial began. Prosecutors say it was an innocent mistake.
Somehow in this, Detective Howard transmitting it to everyone, if it was emailed, it was compressed.
While the judge raised that motion, he cleared the courtroom, allowing the jurors to watch the video again in court as part of their deliberation.
Well, I persist wanted to say that, there's a day of reckoning with respect to these things.
Prosecutors say the drone video shows that Rittenhouse dropped the fire extinguisher he'd been carrying and raised his AR-15 rifle during those violent protests last year. And so he became a threat to others on the street. The jury agrees it could unravel his claim that he acted in self-defense.
That drone video could prove to be rather critical there. Terry Moran joins us again now. Terry, tell us more about this new motion for mistrial.
This could be very significant. The defense claims that they could have made a different case, maybe a better case for their client if they had access to the clearer version of that video. They dispute the prosecution's characterization of what's happening on that video. The clearer version could have helped them. And prosecutors have a legal obligation to turn over all evidence that could help a defendant. This is another misstep by the prosecution in a case that has been plagued by them, and it could be very serious indeed. It could be grounds for a mistrial, at least, or certainly grounds for an appeal if there is a conviction. So this is a major moment in this trial.
There have been no shortage of those. Terry Moran, our thanks to you. And for more on Kyle Rittenhouse and Ahmaud Arbery trials, we welcome back ABC News contributor Sean O'Rourke. This is just getting to be a regular thing, which we enjoy having you on, Sean. So let's start with the Rittenhouse trial. The jury seems quite focused on the drone video. What does that say to you about their deliberations so far?
What that says to me is that this jury wants to see it from all angles. They want everything very clear. And what it seems is that they're not necessarily at the point where they're accepting either version of events. They want everything that is objective, and that's what they're really focused on. Yesterday they focused on the jury instructions, and today it's video. I think you're seeing a very deliberate jury be very methodical about the information that they're taking in and how they're taking it in.
And that's good, right? It seems like no rush to judgment here. That drone video, though, also at the center of the defense motion for a mistrial. Do you think that they're at all likely to win that one?
No, that's a very interesting one, and there's interesting points on both sides, because there's this allegation that they got this, a degraded, grainy, less than visible version of this video. However, the state is saying that Rittenhouse's previous attorney actually may have had access to this video, as he's alleging, and that they were unaware that that was how it was transported. And if you were listening to the trial, it seems as though there were some interesting ways in which it was airdropped from an Apple to an Android product, thereby compressing the file. So here, what they're going to be really looking at is, did this prejudice his defense? Did this have some sort of ability to affect the defense that he would have put on, and could he have been successful if he had had access to it?
So what you'll see is them very much focusing on who transmitted what the video quality was, and what they actually received. But it is and could be grounds for an appeal once it's delved into a little bit further.
And turning to the trial of the killing of Ahmaud Arbery now, not only did Travis McMichael take a stand in his own defense, but he was the first defense witness. What do you think the strategy is there?
You know, Lindsay, anytime you see a strategy put on like this, what it is that jurors remember the first thing, but usually the first and the last witness, if they're the most impactful when it comes to the state or the defense. The state has had all this time to put on their case, and what we see this defense attorney is doing is coming right back at them. They want his story brought out immediately, and they want to be able to face that next to side by side this theory that the state has been advancing in their case. So it's very interesting to see them put him on first.
Now, Travis McMichael talked a lot about Ahmaud Arbery's size and athletic ability, yet Travis was actually larger than Arbery at the time of the incident. He also described Arbery as angry. What do you think that he's trying to do here, and what do you think that the jury will take away from this statements?
You know, there's several things to unpack in that, Lindsay. First, I think that when we look at him, we're seeing a different person by a number of significant pounds. He's a different size. You know, the appearance is different. What you'll see the state likely is to point that out in some manner or fashion, because what they're going to want to do is ensure that what we're seeing in the video matches up with what the jury is seeing with the person testifying. So there's going to be some form of a reference back to that, because obviously their size matters when we talk about a physical altercation and how endangered someone may feel. Now, this whole concept of using words like, dangerous, he looks suspicious when referring to Ahmaud Arbery, is his attempt to make the jury feel that and understand why it is that he's alleging that he felt in danger, and why he felt that he had to take it to this level that they ended up in this altercation. I think, however, you have to be very careful with that, because the jury always asks the question, how did we get here? How did this start? And so by skipping over that, beginning part and trying to smooth that out, I think you're being a little less than genuine with the jury when it comes to presenting your full story. And I think the jury is going to look to that, and they're going to really scrutinize that when it comes to why you even got to the point that you were struggling over a gun.
And lastly, Travis McMichael argued that according to his own training, brandishing a gun can actually de-escalate a situation. What do you make of that defense?
That's a show of force, and the truth is that most oftentimes we hear law enforcement shy away from that, because more often than not, it does escalate the situation. Sure, when you have the National Guard and larger members of law enforcement, there might be a need to have a show of force, but when we're talking about citizen to citizen here, I don't see where this is actually applicable, or whether it is even something that the average citizen would do. So I think that was not a good statement, and I think that that's going to play against him.
Sean Ward, thank you as always. Appreciate your time and insight.
What up, though?
It's always a pleasure.
Tense moments on Capitol Hill today after the House of Representatives debated over censure in Wyoming. Representative Paul Gosar and, as usual, in Washington, the top brass of both parties then went after each other.
We was on Young Dog, so I'm going to keep that Young Dog thing going.
Listen to the music to really be touched by.
We can see a very well-known car. We've probably seen it in a lot of rap videos. We've probably seen it on Instagram several or so times. We've probably seen it on Facebook. We know who that car belongs to. You've seen that car before. You can see that Memphis police are going in and out of Maquinas right now. We see homicide detectives. We see
I don't know why I stopped. I think because I did what I was doing, but so we're gonna get to another one. I just want to see what y'all think about it. I know it's a tragedy. Go check my dog real quick.
All you do in your DAW, whatever DAW it is literally just drag and drop. Exactly what these corporations do.
Following a breaking into work tonight, British rapper Young Dolphin has now been shot and killed in Memphis. From the WPRN.com,
Then Alex, the rapper, was shot while reportedly buying cookies near the Central neighborhood of Memphis this afternoon. Randolph Custom camouflage garage can be seen parked outside the people's cookies as a crime-scene case surrounding the area. Someone reportedly drove up and shot the rapper while he was inside the bakery buying cookies. The 36-year-old, whose real name was Adolph Jr., grew up in Memphis and is known for his community outreach. State Representative London Lamar, the acting for years calling it fundraising and playing golf, was from her district and one of her favorite artists. She adds that Memphis has lost a legend. At this point, Memphis police have not released any information about the suspect in this case. These two brings you breaking news around the clock at WKRM.com.
Police and the FBI say they'd stop at nothing to steal the cars they wanted. 5 people arrested in connection to at least 7 carjackings all across metro Detroit. One person, Delano Drake, has already been charged with 25 different criminal charges, and they say that those 7 cases actually could be just the beginning.
And all the carjackings happened in Detroit, Dearborn, and Southfield. As Detective Sean Lay reports, they reference some very specific cars.
I believe you're going to break down the news of this because in the details there's information for you on how not to become a target. First, the news. 4 men, 1 woman busted for a carjacking spree of at least 7 carjackings that spanned Detroit, Southfield, and Dearborn. Dearborn's chief calling them urban terrorists.
It's a very serious assault. I consider them urban terrorists.
You also need to know how these carjackers pick their victims. The type of vehicle you drive could make you a target. Here's video of the carjackers in action October 23rd on Greenfield. The man is beaten for his SUV the next night on 7 Mile. The same gunman ripped the driver out of his car. November 4th on West McNichols, they strike yet again.
The Grand Cherokees, the Malibus, the Chargers, the Challengers, these are all the items in the suit the perpetrators, for some reason, did it.
The carjacking in Southfield, the victim was putting air into the tire of his Jeep Grand Cherokee, so his back was turned. That's when the carjackers attacked from behind. He ran, but these guys still shot him 3 times in his back. He's expected to survive. Detroit police, Southfield police, Dearborn police, and the FBI all working together to track down the carjackers.
If you make crimes in our cities, you crime in this city, you're going to get full attention.
Yeah, I'm back. Kind of figured it might change up.
The Southfield carjacking is Southfield's first one this year. There are far more stolen cars. Carjackings in Detroit, they're up 1%. As you can see, many of them take place at gas stations. I'm Detective Sean, local.
All right, Sean, police are requesting charges
All right,
so far on
we'll get off right now. Catch y'all later.
But we told the investigation is far. But we're going to begin with breaking news. 2 people in police custody.